Our Stories Festival was really set up to help support people from diverse backgrounds to really get into the industry.
Those people that you see do fantastic stuff, they put in the work.
Hi everyone, my name's Alice Cabanas and I'm head of BFI Network at the BFI and I work with...
Hiya, I'm Kate Maxwell. I'm a development exec at the BFI Filmmaking Fund.
Perfect. So, guys, what's the difference between BFI Network and the Film Fund?
So we do work together. We work really closely together. BFI Network is part of the Filmmaking Fund, but we're the part that specifically supports new and emerging talent, which is, can be a bit of a confusing term. So when we say new and emerging, we support talent from their early short form work up to just before they make their debut feature. And we support writers, directors and producers. You need to be over 18 and out of full-time education to access BFI Network support. There's no upper age limit. And just jumping in, if anyone is younger than 18, BFI Film Academy is the BFI support mechanism for you. So that we sort of, operate in that space really where we support filmmakers in the early stages of their careers. Once you're getting up to your debut feature, that's when, Filmmaking Fund take over.
That's when we take over, yeah. So we sort of work with filmmakers, writers, producers when they're at that stage when they want to make a sort of feature-length film, and that can also be animation. But yeah, it's going sort of beyond the 70-minute area. Okay. And that's when we sort of come in and we do development. So we do script work, help getting the script in shape, and then taking it through, we do production stuff as well. So yeah.
I love that. We're going to dive into that. Before we do, in terms of short films, and BFI Network, how does it work? Is there a maximum number of films you guys can fund per year? Is there a funding limit? Is it just hey, we can do whatever we want? How does that? What's the limit? Because we see a lot of filmmakers tend to get frustrated when they're not successful. I see them all the time on Twitter. And I guess part of the reason why is because we see the quality of the short films that come out of being supported by BFI Network. So, what's the limit in terms of how that works?
I can sort of really quickly talk to the structure of how we fund short films and then give you a sense of the amounts of applications we get in and how many we can fund. So I'll probably focus on the England funds because it feels like people in the room here will predominantly be interested in how the funds run in England, but I just want to flag in the devolved nations, Wales, Northern Ireland and Scotland, it is slightly different. We work with screen agencies there that run their funds independently, but I'll sort of maybe focus on the England funds, but if anyone wants to ask about the nation funds, just come and find me afterwards. We have a short film production fund. It runs once a year. It has just closed, so we're in the final stages of assessments for this round. We are hoping it will open again in 2024, January or February. Our applications were up by 40% this year, so we got 1,100 applications in England alone for short film production funds, so it was way more than we'd even anticipated, so our assessments are taking a bit longer. Everybody has been contacted now, but we are still in the later stages. So there are really difficult decisions to be made, and often we will receive lots of films that have creative merit, that are really strong, that are really interesting, but we just unfortunately don't have the resources to fund them. So we don't have a set number of films that we have to make a year because we like to work in a bit more of a flexible way in terms of people can apply for up to £25,000. That's a new limit for this year as well. We recognise that making short films is hard and getting more expensive, so we increased the cap. So, but we may have some that will come in for less. So we may have some earlier filmmakers that could come in for 5 or 10K, or then we may have people that are a bit further along that will come up for 25K. So we don't have a kind of, number of films. I mean, I think we're imagining we will probably fund around 4% of that 1,100 into production. So it's really tough, and we recognise that. We recognise like how much effort goes into putting in an application, and we're very transparent about our assessment process. But it is really competitive.
Wow, 4% is not a lot, but obviously you guys are doing what you can. Cool. So seeing as it's clearly quite difficult, right? What are like some of the key reasons? This might sound like a very open, abstract question, but what are some of the key things or key reasons that people or ideas or scripts like get the funding? Is there like a common thing that you're like, yeah, cool, they've hit these points?
It is really hard to say exactly. I know that's really frustrating when you're putting together an application. I mean, I think ultimately we're looking for projects that feel distinctive, that feel fresh, that have a point of view and a perspective that we maybe haven't seen before, that are saying things in a new way, that are making us sort of think, think in new ways and see things in new ways. So it is like we're looking for things that are culturally progressive, that are sort of relevant to now. So that's the sort of the overall sort of things we're looking for in the projects. And then there are things in that make applications, that can make applications stand out. Obviously, we're looking at previous work, specifically for the director. Does their previous work support what they've come, to us with? We're looking at the overall kind of creative vision, how they're sort of expressing what they want to make, and then the whole team. We do, although I've spoken about the director a lot, we are really interested in producers as well, and making sure we're supporting the producers in the industry. So we're looking at how this is going to help sort of develop their slate, and ultimately Network is there to try and move filmmakers on to long form. That's sort of what we're there for, and that could be features, but that also could be longer form commission on other platforms. So we're really looking at how does this project do that for this team? Like, how is it going to move you on to the next step? That's another important thing as well.
I love that. Guys, also please start having your questions ready. Kate, I pose the same question to you, right? From a features perspective, and I guess when people are applying for funding for features, they've probably got a few good quality shorts underneath their belt. And I'm sure, well, in terms of like the funding, right? Is it like a similar thing of like, I don't know, we tend to get 1,000 and it's 4%, like what?
Yeah, both good questions. So in terms of our production funding, we actually have like 2 separate categories. So we've got the Discovery Award, which is focused primarily on like debut filmmakers. So they've done a few shorts and they now like want to move into the feature space. And that's kind of like budget level, anything below 3 mil. So it's a smaller budget. And I think the intention with the Discovery Award is like trying to support like underrepresented groups and hoping that like through that production process, we're kind of creating a more diverse and inclusive film industry. So that's like one of it, and we do about 5 a year on that. And just a bit of perspective, so that award is in like rounds, so it's like 3 rounds a year. And so we've recently just closed one which had like almost about 100 applications, and from that there'll be 2. So it's pretty hard, and I think, in terms of what we're looking for in that, I think similar to everything that Alice has said about like the team, I think also with the Discovery, it's, like some sense of like creative audacity in the shorts and like risk-taking and sort of engagement with audiences in interesting ways and like, fresh perspective on things. I think it's all really interesting. And then the other award is the Impact Production Award. So that's for for slightly more experienced filmmakers, so maybe they've done like a couple of features already, or it's like debut filmmakers who want to like work on a slightly bigger canvas, so they want to do something that's like above 3 mil. And so for that, what we're kind of looking for is sort of in the name, the impact award. It's impact. It's like cultural, social, commercial impact, and like in what ways it's going to sort of reach a big audience. And yeah, and in that award, it's like about 5 a year. So 6 in Discovery, 5 in the other one.
Wow. Could you give some insight onto some of the projects that have gone through, that the Film Fund has supported?
Yeah, so the Discovery is really new.
Yeah.
We've like just begun. But like someone that's quite interesting that we're going to be working with is Akinola Davies, who did his short Lizard, which is phenomenal.
Yep.
It's so great. And that's really exciting. So we're going to be going into production for Discovery on that. And then Impact, I mean, it's such a range. I feel like, again, the award has just gone, so there's not anything that I can actually confirm.
Yeah. Okay.
We could talk about it was useful to talk about a couple of the films that have gone, or filmmakers that have gone from Network to Film Fund recently. Things people might be able to catch now, because we've just got a scrapper out, haven't we? That's
Come
just,
on.
doing a Q&A tour at the moment. Charlotte Regan and Charlotte did a documentary short, I think, with BFI Network first, didn't she? And then it's gone on to do Scrapper, so you can catch that now in cinemas.
Yep.
And recent other ones, Pretty Red Dress, Dion's.
Dion Edwards,
Yeah.
that's another really
Yeah.
good one.
Yeah.
It's really great seeing that when there's been like a talent that has been like worked with Network and then had the whole journey, because obviously it's like really fulfilling for the whole team and creates like a real sense of kind of community within the kind of BFI and how we can support. And yeah, that's really great. I'm trying to think.
And also Riley.
Yes.
And
how could we
also
not mention that?
Rylane, which
Yes.
was great as well.
So about Rylane specifically, right? Because I'm really looking forward to Scrapper as well. But with Rylane, I find that really interesting because, like, I more know Nathan as opposed to Rain, right? But I guess Nathan, I haven't seen, and he might have done, but he hasn't gone through that short film route with BFI Network, but then going on to actually have, like, going directly to the Film Fund. So it would be interesting to just get insight on, do you always have to go from BFI Network to Film Fund? Okay.
Definitely not.
Absolutely not. No, not at all. Yeah, I think we kind of, particularly in the way, again, that I said, splitting out those 2 awards, like we're kind of really interested in, you know, all sorts of different like creative backgrounds and like making that move into feature. And I don't think, you know, it's really not a kind of one comes with the other. Because also I think that you get such interesting types of filmmakers that come from different spaces, like commercials and you know, documentaries, and I think that like there's so much value in like the difference of perspective that you get from coming from those different mediums.
Yeah.
So it really isn't the case. It's, you know, it's a nice feeling when there's
we love it when it happens, because obviously Network, you know, we have a sort of UK-wide presence, and we sort of really do sort of try and do a lot of outreach. So we do really love it, obviously, when we discover the filmmakers and we can help them. But it definitely isn't a prerequisite at all. Like, there's plenty of filmmakers go through Film Fund without having to gone through Network as well.
Perfect. For both of you guys, right, what are some of like the common mistakes you see from first-time applicants? And this is both for shorts and features. Because I feel like those things lead to the angry tweets that we see. So,
like there'll be students sometimes, and I'm trying to think.
I think we sometimes just see really rushed applications, and you can sort of tell if if someone's put something together in a rush, or maybe the team have come together very last minute, which isn't always a bad thing, but you do sort of get a sense that even just simple things that maybe the budget isn't kind of finished and up to scratch and you're not confident in that, or, you know, the script really isn't at, we don't expect scripts to be at sort of final draft stage for Network. Like, we will do some rounds of notes with people, and if we see something in there, we can do a bit of development with them, but it does need to be as strong as it can be. Like, you need to be confident in it. So I think rushed applications are something we kind of see sometimes.
Yeah, I'd also add, actually, in terms of the debut filmmaking, I think this sort of like consideration about the process as like a holistic thing. So it's not, when we're doing developing, like the development applications, so you're just applying to like build up your script. In the application, we do sort of need to see a sense that you like have a vision for where it's going to go, and the realistic financial route, the realistic route to market, because that's obviously like you're kind of creating something and you want it to go on that whole journey. And I think sometimes we'll see applications where it doesn't seem like the team have much of a grasp of like, you know, how they plan on this being kind of released. And like obviously the BFI like financial involvement isn't much. It's like a percentage, and that like part of the journey is going to be having to try and like get the rest of that money and sort of think about the different spaces that you're going to be putting it in, like who's your audience, and like, and even I think now like more than ever with limited funding, it's just so important to be like anticipating the future reality of the film once you've got that script together. So I think that's something that, particularly at the moment, we're kind of encouraging applicants to kind of show a bit more of a sort of engagement with. And it's not to say that you have to like obviously have all the pieces together, but just showing that there's like a real determination and dedication and like understanding of, you know, what the reality is going to be, and like how to go on that, you know, how to kind of go on that journey beyond the script, I think.
Yeah, I think, and sorry, just also flagging the engagement with the BFI diversity standards is really key, and sometimes people also can sort of leave that to a bit of an afterthought, which, you know, it shouldn't be. It really should be at the centre of your project, and you should be, you know, thinking about those elements at the outset. So you don't have to meet them with Network, but you do have to engage with them. So just taking time on those questions as well in terms of how you're going to engage with the standards. And new for the BFI this year is a new cross-cutting principle that we have is environmental sustainability. So we are starting to look a bit more closely about how filmmakers really embed that in their work as well.
I love that. So earlier on this year, there was like a huge discussion around like finding producers for like, I think it was particularly for like BFI Network applications, right? Is that something that you guys have recognized, and like, yeah, what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, we can't not recognise it. It's you know, obviously a big challenge people find, and we're totally here to listen as well. So yeah, I'm sort of we are aware that finding a producer can be really challenging. Like I said earlier, we're here to support and develop producers as well. So it's really important that that the work we do, you know, supports that role too. Sorry, what was the second part of the question? Like, sorry.
No, just your thoughts, because you know what? Sometimes when there's a discussion going on within a community, that doesn't mean that a key organization that conversation directly relates to even recognizes it. So it's just something that I've seen and loads of people have seen. It was quite a big thing. So just seeing what your thoughts were. Because, and I guess the reason why I say that is because if someone's applying to you for funding and you've got the requirements, is it your responsibility to help provide a producer or provide a framework to find a producer?
It's something that we're talking about a lot, and we talk about all the time. I think that relationship between a writer, director, and a producer is really is really complex and important. It's a relationship, and it can be. We also see the producer as a really kind of core part of that creative process. Like we recognise the creative role producers play. So, making sure those relationships sort of develop naturally, and people want to work together and sort of come to us with the team that they feel confident within that project, and that they want to take that together, and the producer has been an integral part of that, is quite important to us. Some of our hubs around the country do deliver producer labs. We're trying to make sure our communications about that are as clear as they can be. So we do have producer labs that happen all across the UK, and sort of who's on those labs can really show in the local regions, like the producers coming through. Also, your producers don't have to be in the region you're based in, so we do often have producers sort of from outside London working with London talent, or conversely London producers working with talent in the other regions as well. So it's sort of important to remember that. We have an early development fund which you don't have to have a producer to apply for, so that'll be opening in October as well. And that's,
is this for short films?
No, sorry, this is for features.
I was going to say.
This is for features. And that's a recognition, that, we wanted to have a fund for writers and writer-directors they could come into if they didn't have a producer yet. So you can apply to that. That's always actually operated without a producer. That's not a new thing. And we are looking at a microshorts scheme for newer talent who maybe won't have had a chance to meet producers yet, but that's not quite ready to launch. So we'll be sort of looking at that in the next year or two. So we do recognise it's a challenge, but we do have the framework at the moment that we have, and we are trying to sort of see if there are other mechanisms we can sort of support that bringing together.
That's amazing. Well done for actually putting action behind it. That's amazing, because I'm surprised, but it's great to be surprised in that way. Questions? Any questions for the BFI? Yes, go for it.
Hold on. Cheers for that. How can we apply to that, the fund that you guys run?
Is that for short film or feature?
For both.
Okay, that's a really great question. we should have brought that up top. So you can find, if you Google BFI Network, that will take you to the BFI Network website. And on that website, you'll be able to find all of the different funds that we run. The Short Film Production Fund's not open at the moment, but we do have a fund called More Films for Freedom, which is open at the moment, which is a production fund up to £25,000 for LGBTQIA+ stories that are connected to Middle East or Africa. We're running that with British Council. The Early Development Fund's not open yet. We imagine it will be open in October-ish. So I think the best thing for network funds is to sign up to our newsletter, keep an eye on our Twitter, and we'll announce whenever the funds are open that way.
Yeah, and with features, if you want to apply for the development, so like develop your script, the development awards, that's likewise just go online and there's an application form thing that you can do. And the same goes for discovery and impact. So it's all sort of on the website and hopefully quite clear. But yeah, and the development, it's all around, all year. You can apply whenever, apart from in August when there's a break. And the discoveries, that's for the production funding for first-time filmmakers on a lower budget. That opens in rounds. So there'll be one at top of next year that will open. We've literally just closed today one of the rounds. And they open sort of like 3 times a year. So yeah, there'll be one opening probably around Christmas or like shortly after.
And we're, like at Network, we're happy to signpost as well. Like if you just send us an email, we'll answer your email and we'll send you the links you need, or we'll put you in touch with the other departments at the BFI if it's not us. So we're BFI Network at bfi.org.uk. We might not be able to answer all your questions, but if it is signposting and you just want to know where to get information, we'll do our best to answer.
Thank you. Yes, question at the front, go for it.
Yeah, so for the short film specifically, in terms of beefing up the application, Do you guys accept like photography, photo shoots, music videos, and animations as kind of previous works that would go towards potentially funding an application, or does it have to specifically be short films that we've previously done?
No, we would accept, we consider music videos, short films as well, although we don't fund them, but we would consider them body of work. We would also, of course, animations, especially if you're applying with an animation, we would have a look at that. And you could definitely include other work. We do want to see in that body of work something that supports what you're applying for. So we want to see like the essence of, your directorial voice in that. So it's good for there to be like a through line. But music videos are fine to submit.
Amazing. And we have time for one more question. Go for it. Yes.
Thank you. Hi. I was just wondering if sort of 4% of people are successful with the BFI funding, where else would you suggest, say hypothetically, if we were making a short each, where else should we go to find funding?
Great question. I'd first say sign up to the BFI Network newsletter, because we will also, if we do hear about other funds that are open for short films, we promote those. We have like an opportunity section at the bottom of our email, so we will list those. Some of the ones, there are funds that open occasionally. There's End to the Pitch, which is a short film production fund that I think opens once a year. I think Grey Moth did one as well. Genera, I think, is another one that sometimes people come with match funding to us with. I think BFI Network is the only one that's open all the time, but you do occasionally get these other funds coming up. So we'll promote those. A lot of people crowdfund. I know that's a lot of work and might not be applicable for everyone or relevant for every project, but sometimes people do it that way. That's that. We've got something I should have quickly referenced on our website. We've got something called the Short Film Toolkit. I'm looking at Naomi now. There is some information on there about both making your short film, getting it out there, festival distribution. So that's worth having a read of as well, because there might be some more information about other funders in that toolkit as well.
Thank you so much. Hopefully now you guys know where the money is. And also, I think one thing that was really key for this session is the wide variety of opportunities there are. So it's like not just funding so you can go and make the film. Maybe you need some development funding. Maybe you don't have a producer. Maybe you can. So there's...
Also just quickly adding to that, we have the Creative Challenge Fund opening later this year.
More money.
Which is... don't know where it's coming from. But that is, I think, what you were talking about how it can be... We want to basically try and decentralize that sort of development process where you have to have, come with your sort of set team, blah, blah, blah. And that particular fund is basically just focused on labs and workshops and basically finding ways to kind of develop skill sets in a way that's a little bit more dynamic and not necessarily just script-based work. So it could be doing workshops with actors or coming together with a group of people to kind of read bits out. I think it's just sort of, recognizing that there is a need to decentralize and that we kind of want to find space to kind of help progress the work and skills and show that there is support and that it can be dynamic.
I love that. Thank you. Round of applause, people.